Sorry if I pass through real quick.
Will the guests please rise for arrival honors, the parading of the colors, and the invocation. Lexington arriving. City of Pensacola arriving. House of Representatives arriving. Naval Air Training arriving. Naval Operations arriving. Parade the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
We invoke your divine blessing as we gather to decommission this United States ship. She has rendered many years of distinguished service on behalf of freedom-loving peoples and has upheld the highest traditions of our Navy. We pay respect and tribute to all who sailed her on the high seas in times of war and peace. We express our gratitude for the preservation of this ship from the dangers of the sea and the violence of the enemy, and for bringing her safely to this hour. She is a proud lady who has served her country well. We will miss her. But today we celebrate, Lord, the life and times of the Lady Lex. Our hearts swell with pride as we remember her many heroic deeds. For every man and woman who walked her decks, for every engineer who gave her life, and for every officer who guided her, we offer heartfelt thanks. Today, Lord, begins a new chapter in the life of Lexington, and we pray that the spirit of the Blue Ghost will live on in each of our hearts and memories. Thank you, God, for the privilege of being a part of the legacy of Lexington. Now, Eternal Father, be with every sailor, every Marine, their families and loved ones. Bless our community and nation, and grant us your continued presence and love. Amen.
Will the guests please be seated? Lexington, parade, side boys, post. Ladies and gentlemen, the commanding officer, USS Lexington, Captain William H. Kennedy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Hutto, Admiral Kelso, Mr. Cragen, Mayor Emeritus Switz, Admiral Mickey Wiesner, distinguished flag officers, former Lexington commanding officers, Air Groups 16 and 19, Blue.
Pensacola is many things to many people. To Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard aviators in our fleet today and in our shore establishment removed from Pensacola, it was the beginning of it all. It was the beginning of discipline, excitement, challenge, and reward, which produces the best aviators in the world. To the thousands of men and women in uniform in Pensacola, and poignantly to the crew of USS Lexington for the last 28 years, both past and present, it is an ideal training ground. It is an ideal location for supportive families. Quality of life at its best. To the civilian population, the Navy and the Marine Corps have been part of their heritage. Their question always is, how can we help? To my wife, Nancy, it's Southern hospitality at its finest. To Mayor Emeritus Wibb, it is Pensacola, the western gate of the Sunshine State, where thousands live and millions wish they could, where the warmth of our community comes not only from God's good sunshine, but from the hearts of the people who live here. Yes, Pensacola, Navy civilian team has special chemistry, and that chemistry is the result of strong leadership, both past and present. Leadership in the form of Mayor Emeritus Vince Webbs, Mayor of Pensacola for 13 years. Leadership in the form of Congressman Earl Hutto, who has represented Pensacola with great gusto here and on Capitol Hill for 13 years. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Earl Hutto.
Thank you very much, Admiral Futterman, Mayor Maygarden, Mayor Emeritus Webbs, distinguished Navy officials, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here, sad in many ways. Admiral Kelso, Admiral Dunleavy, it's good to have you down here from Washington. Since you came earlier, I'm going to accuse you of bringing the cold weather down here. But the sun always shines on the cradle of naval aviation, Pensacola, and it is with mixed emotions. In terms of ships, the Lex has reached Social Security age. But we will not forget her. And as we participate in this ceremony today, we know that many changes are taking place and have taken place in the world. We're all encouraged at what has happened in the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc nations. But at the same time, I think we must be cautious in drawing down our defense. As the leader of the free world, we must still maintain a strong defense because there are other threats than just the Soviet Union, and even that is not completely eased. But as we reflect back on the history of this great ship, we have very vivid memories. We know that it is a record-setting ship in terms of training naval aviators. We have had many thousands of men and women to serve on this wonderful ship. We have had those who've been willing to give their lives aboard this ship for our great nation. So we thank God that we've had the opportunity to have a wonderful ship like this, and that we have many more. But in terms of drawing down, let's not get too low. Let's remember the lessons that we have learned in the past. But let's always remember the United States ship Lexington and what it has meant to all of us. And so to the crew and the former crew members and all who've had anything to do with this great ship, we appreciate and congratulate you. May God bless you and God bless the United States of America.
Long-standing relationship with the Pensacola community enjoys with the U.S. Navy. Admiral Kelso, we are indeed honored to have you in our community for this truly historic occasion, made all the more so by your distinguished presence. Admiral Dunleavy, Admiral McGowan, Congressman Hutto, Honorable Charles Cragen, Admiral Wiesner, former commanding officers, other distinguished and honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here along with my colleagues in City Council and the County Commission, my good friend Mayor Emeritus Bishop, on this historic occasion. For nearly 5 centuries, ships from all over the world have sailed into this, our beautiful bay. Much history has been written on these waters, have shaped our city's destiny, defined our sense of place, and influenced our character as a community. And as I look back through our rich maritime history, I can think of no other ship that has been more loved, admired, and respected by the people of this community than USS Lexington. For nearly 30 years, we have watched her embark on her missions, moving magnificently and gracefully through the pass into the Gulf of Mexico en route to train young men and women to defend our nation and the free world. And it is fitting tribute to her greatness that over the years, the Lady Lex has become a tangible, living symbol of the pride our community takes in its naval heritage and in its role as the cradle of naval aviation. I recall, as I'm sure many of you do, that wonderful day in April 1989 when the city of Pensacola welcomed, in grand style I might add, the Lady Lex to the port of Pensacola. What a splendid event that was, and one our city will long remember. It was certainly an honor for downtown Pensacola to host and to harbor for 2 years such a great and glorious piece of American naval history. For Pensacola, this is truly a time of mixed emotion. We are here to honor a gallant warrior, and we're here to see an old friend off for the last time. But rather than mourn her loss, we, those of us gathered here, simply would like to thank the United States Navy and the American people for allowing her to be a vital part of our community for nearly 30 years. I know that I speak for all Pensacolians when I say we trust she will spend her much-deserved retirement in dignity, and we truly hope in close proximity to the city that will always treasure her service the most. As for Pensacola, this community, we await patiently the next opportunity to serve our friends in the United States Navy. We are proud of this great ship. We pray a special blessing on the men and women who served her. Thank you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Admiral Frank V. Kelso, the Chief of Naval Operations. Admiral Kelso is not only our senior naval officer, he's a man who I believe to be the greatest leader to hold the position of CNO in many years. Admiral Kelso was involved from start to finish and led the Navy to an operational tempo never before achieved during Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. The men and women of Lexington, and in honor of Lexington herself, I'm extremely proud that Admiral Kelso took the time to be here today and give Lexington the honorable retirement she so richly deserves. Without further words, ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Frank V. Kelso, Chief of Naval Operations.
Congressman Hutto, Representative Battalion, Mr. Cragen, Mayors Maygarden and Mayor Emeritus Wibbs, Admiral Wiesner, fellow flag officers, members of the Blue Ghost Association, members of Air Groups 16 and 19, Captain and Mrs. Kennedy, and the officers and crew of the USS Lexington. Good morning. It's a great pleasure for Landis and me to visit this beautiful city once again and partake of your unique hospitality. The Navy and the people of Pensacola have enjoyed a warm, mutually supportive relationship dating back to 1825. In 1914, our first Naval Air Station was established here, and since then, the Navy and this community have together witnessed U.S. naval aviation's rise to world preeminence. We know how proud you are to be known as the cradle of naval aviation, and we in the Navy deeply appreciate all you do for our Navy and the more than 20,000 people who serve and train here. Your strong support for our troops during the Persian Gulf conflict was especially gratifying, but given your track record over the years the Navy's been here, we knew it would be nothing but defining. We look forward to the continued association between this community and our Navy. I am delighted today to see so many shipmates and friends of Lexington, many of whom I know have traveled great distances for this occasion. I'm especially pleased that Mayor Zepka of Lexington, Michigan, and Mayor Sheets of Quincy, Massachusetts, where Lexington was built 48 years ago, could join us as well this morning. Saying goodbye to an old friend and a ship you served on is always a bittersweet occasion. But retiring the Blue Ghost is doubly so, because as we do so, we are marking the end of an era as well. When I was a midshipman back in the early 50s, Lexington was already a legend. Little did I realize that the ship whose exploits I studied then would still be operating nearly 40 years later. The thousands who have served in Lexington, as well as the thousands who have learned their wings aboard her, will undoubtedly view this morning's proceedings with sadness. But mixed with this sadness is tremendous pride in this ship's extraordinary accomplishments and nearly half a century of service to our nation. The magnificent ship we honor here today is the 5th naval vessel to commemorate the Battle of Lexington and its critical importance in the history of our nation. The first Lexington was commissioned less than a year after the shot heard around the world and served honorably in the Revolutionary War. It stands in reminder of our founding fathers' wisdom and foresight in providing for a Navy to protect this nation's interests, both at home and abroad. The 2nd and 3rd Lexingtons also had their baptism of fire, participating in the Mexican War and in the Civil War. The 4th Lexington, the CV-2, will always be remembered for its dramatic role in World War II Battle of the Coral Sea, an engagement which first established naval aviation as an essential element of modern maritime warfare. Its loss as a result of enemy torpedo hits was regarded as a national catastrophe. The Lexington we see before us today was completed more than a year ahead of schedule by the patriotic shipbuilders of Quincy, Massachusetts, in order to avenge her gallant predecessor. For many, Lady Lex inexorably linked to historic battles like the Philippine Sea, Iwo Jima, and Lady Gulf, among other way stations in our victory in the Pacific. Others, I'm sure, today associate Lexington with the legendary naval heroes who made her their flagship, like John McCain and Mark Mister, and Mr. Devoted Chief of Staff Admiral Arnie Burke. Lexington participated in virtually every major operation in the Pacific Theater. Her flight crews destroyed nearly 850 enemy aircraft. She sank or destroyed 300,000 tons of enemy shipping while damaging an additional 600,000 tons. And despite 21 months of operation in the war theater and a 1944 kamikaze attack, the Blue Ghost could not be sunk. A presidential unit citation and 11 battle stars she proudly wears. They are ample testimony of Lexington's valiant service and the bravery of those who sailed in her. Forged in the crucible of war, this uniquely resilient ship went on to make contributions in peacetime, which have proven every bit as significant and far-reaching as her combat victories. Paramount among them is her achievement-filled record as the Navy's only training carrier. In this role, Lady Lex has become a permanent fixture in Pensacola, as well as a familiar sight in the Gulf of Mexico and Key West operating areas for the past 28 years. Many of our senior aviators completed their first traps aboard this ship. Lexington-trained pilots will be flying well into the 21st century. Last year, while other carriers were operating the Persian Gulf, Lexington was at work on this side of the world, placing its stake in the future of naval aviation, training people to go there. Lexington crews have trained nearly 50,000 naval aviators who've gone on to serve in every conflict from Vietnam to Desert Storm. A total of almost 500,000 arrested landings have been made aboard Lexington, an incredible record which will likely stand for all time. But statistics like these tell only a fraction of Lex's story. Lexington is really about the thousands of dedicated Navy people whose continued efforts to provide a safe and realistic training environment have contributed immeasurably to the unsurpassed professionalism of our aviation community. In my career, they have reduced naval aviation accidents, major accidents, by a factor of 10. It did not happen by chance. It happened because of their professionalism and set out on a goal to make it that way. I might add that Lexington set the pace in many other respects. She was one of the first Navy ships and the only carrier to become fully integrated with women as a part of her crew. For more than a decade, female sailors, constituting approximately 20% of ship's company, have served with distinction alongside their male counterparts in virtually every capacity, on the flight deck and in the engine rooms alike. In fact, the last trap aboard Lexington was made by a female pilot, Lieutenant Kathy Owens, who I believe is with us today. But the well-known professionalism of Lexington sailors transcends the matter of gender. All Lexington crew members recognize full well there is no such thing as a routine flight operation, particularly when student aviators are involved. The work is fast-paced, highly demanding, and inherently dangerous. The ability of Lexington sailors to maintain both their enthusiasm and their vigilance over the course of thousands of evolution has earned them the praise and respect of naval aviators everywhere. When I speak of the great Lexington people, I want to emphasize that I mean not only those who man the flight deck. There are many others behind the scenes whose efforts to maintain in peak condition a platform which was built well before they were born has sometimes proven to be heroic as well. Lexington crews have never been content to rest on their laurels, and true to this tradition, Captain Kennedy and this crew have given 110% of themselves right to the end, and I think you can see that, how this ship looks. Recent years have seen us moving in new directions, including service and joint special operations agreement, as well as a significant role in supporting drug interdiction efforts. A richly deserved meritorious unit commendation attests to this crew's unswerving commitment to excellence. Appropriately enough, some of you last extended flight operations involve refresher training for pilots going to the Persian Gulf and Desert Storm. And amidst all this crew's other duties, you have continued to serve this community and to serve as host to approximately 50,000 visitors a year, winning new friends for our Navy and fostering an enhanced appreciation for the role of naval aviation. I know that preparing a warship for decommissioning must be a complex and a melancholy task, but you have done a remarkable job in this endeavor. Your pride in this great ship is fully evident in its condition and appearance this morning. You can be very proud of the accomplishments of Lexington under your stewardship, and I salute all of this crew and its officers for their performance. And now, Lady Lex's job is done. The mission of the last wooden deck carrier is completed. Your dedication and that of your predecessors over the years has paid off. The threat of global confrontation has been reduced dramatically. The Cold War is behind us. Just this week, Landis and I had the privilege to have the chief of the Soviet Navy visit us in Washington. And this morning he is visiting one of our carriers in Norfolk. We went to a reception at the Soviet embassy in his honor. I never thought I would see this week. So I think it's clear that there is a change in our world. We now have before us better opportunities for lasting peace than perhaps ever in my lifetime. But as Desert Storm demonstrated, and as Congressman Hutto reminded us, the world does remain a dangerous place. Major economic problems, population issues, and unprecedented ethnic and religious strife remind us that the end of the Cold War has not resolved many of the fundamental world problems. Tension, unrest, political instability are facts of life on this planet. We can't expect that the future could have strife. Weapons of mass destruction throughout the world are learned. While I welcome and all of us have hope in the wonderful changes we've seen, we must maintain the strength which has brought us to this point and allowed us to exert a positive leadership role in the world. As an essential part of America's national defense, the need for a strong Navy, fully trained and ready to go in harm's way, remains essential. Nothing will change the fact that 75% of our Earth's surface is composed of salt water, nor that countries are becoming more economically interdependent each day. As an island nation, our destiny will always be linked to the sea and our ability to navigate it freely. Currently, roughly 70% of our exports and imports travel by sea. Free use of the oceans will remain even more critical during periods of strife. The successful maritime interdiction operations in the Persian Gulf are the most recent example of this enduring reality. They denied our enemy the use of the seas, but enabled us to move our material unhindered. Tomorrow's Navy will clearly be smaller, but carrier aviation will continue to form an integral component of our ability to maintain access to the seas and, if need be, to project power to shore. The carrier is essential to both free access and the projection of power. No other platform or set of forces can sustain air superiority at sea. We must maintain this capability. As Lady Lex retires, another fine ship, the Forrestal, will carry on the training of our naval aviators. And I'm glad to note that Lexington and Forrestal shipmates have already started together to ensure the high standards you have set are maintained in the future. Each of you who have served on this great ship will always carry a part of Lexington with you. You can each stand proud. You can stand tall today, knowing that Lady Lex and her crews and air wings have filled an exciting and heroic chapter in the annals of our Navy and our nation. The Navy and our nation are grateful for all you have done. And I am particularly grateful, Captain Kennedy, for the honor to have been your speaker this morning. May God bless all of you. God bless America.
Thank you very much, Admiral Kelso, for your outstanding and meaningful remarks. Your presence and inspirational words have made this ceremony truly special. Distinguished flag holders and civilian guests, ladies and gentlemen, Lexington commanding officers, former Lexington crew members and air groups, Lexington officers, chief petty officers, men and women of my crew. The Commander, Allied Expeditionary Force, Admiral Sir Ramsey, spoke these words on D-Day, June 1944. Let no one underestimate the magnitude of this task. I feel somewhat akin to those words in my determined effort as Lexington's last commanding officer to pay final tribute to this magnificent ship and the history-making record of our crews and air groups. Men and women who, for 48 years, have given their all. A dedicated, selfless contribution to the U.S. Navy and this great nation. There are not adequate words nor enough allocated time to do justice to the unmatched spirit of accomplishment by the world-renowned Blue Ghost. February 1943, Quincy, Massachusetts, a group of patriotic and motivated shipyard workers commissioned CV-16, having persuaded the Secretary of the Navy, John Knox, to rename her in honor of CV-2, sunk in the Battle of Coral Sea. Captain Felix B. Stump was the first commanding officer and the driving force behind the many victories achieved. His words, "This is the captain speaking," the authoritative voice that provided the inspirational leadership and a devotion to Lexington crew that established a tradition of bravery and self-sacrifice that has become a vital and integral part of the Lexington legacy. Who can forget the decisiveness of Admiral Mark Mitchell? In the darkness of a Pacific Ocean night, hearing the drone of aircraft engines above, knowing there were his shipmates injured, low on fuel, and seeking a safe haven, he gave the command, "Turn on the lights," and that brief period of light in a sea of darkness enabled naval aviators returning from long-range attacks on Japanese carriers to get home safely. In our audience today, we have Captain Cook Cleveland, who landed his badly damaged Dauntless aboard the carrier Enterprise because of a foul deck on Lexington. The Enterprise's plane captain looked at the condition of the aircraft and wanted to push it over the side. Cookie, placing his hand on his pistol, responded, "The hell you will." And the next day, Cookie Cleveland and his dependable gunner flew back to Lex, and his reliable SPD-3 was soon again flying missions on enemy targets. Cookie, please stand as Lexington remembers. Lexington met perhaps our most demanding natural challenge when it faced a major typhoon off the island of Luzon in the northern Philippines. 3 destroyers were capsized, 28 ships badly damaged, 200 planes destroyed, and over 800 men lost at sea. Under the steadfast guidance of Captain Ernest W. Litch, a skilled ship handler, Lexington was successfully maneuvered unscathed through the most violent storm of this century. The Lexington record is remarkable. It speaks for itself. 35 campaigns and engagements, 17 aircraft shot down by ship's gunners, 387 aircraft shot down by the air groups, 635 aircraft destroyed on the ground, Navy vessels sunk or put out of action, 588,000 tons, merchant vessels damaged, 497,000 tons. The Blue Ghost survived a torpedo attack by a Japanese bomber. It recovered from a kamikaze hit on the starboard side of the island structure. To paraphrase Mark Twain, reports of her sinking were grossly exaggerated. This grand ship earned and was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation for extraordinary heroism against enemy forces. Amazing too, call it fate or coincidence, but this prestigious award was signed for the President by the Secretary of the Navy, James Forrestal. And the Forrestal replaced Lexington early next year. Endless hours could be spent talking about the spirit and bravery of the Lexington crews. There's thousands of human stories. Many of you could tell your own. 2 sailors sleeping in the hammock-type racks, racing to general quarters because of a midnight torpedo hit, and one shouts to the other, "You owe me $5. You said we'd make it through the night without a chief crew call." Who can forget the high of tremendous exhilaration felt following the many victories, or the low of heartfelt sadness at the loss of shipmates? The long and lonely days at sea, watching the sun rise and set on a crisp horizon that only seagoing sailors understand. The tension and excitement of a pre-dawn launch, and the warm satisfaction when all planes are safely on deck. The unending noise of the fire rooms producing steam, the gigantic turbines in the engine room turning the shafts, the constant pumping of millions of gallons of fuel, the sweat of bodies at 100-degree temperatures for days, weeks, months to meet the demands from the bridge for window or the deck or to run a maneuver from enemy ships and aircraft. 18, 19, and 20-year-old men, dedicated, untiring, and many times scared but not sure just what lies ahead or the intense danger, but always trusting in the commanding officer for leadership, for direction, for guidance, to keep them safe and to bring them home. The saga of Lexington is steeped with great leaders, men seasoned in seamanship, self-reliance, and a personal sense of ultimate responsibility. They understand the continuity of command and the responsibility for their crews. Among them, Captain Phillips B. Stump, First Commanding Officer, Admiral Mark Mitcher, Admiral Sherman, the Commanding Officer of Lexington CV-2, the last man to abandon the ship as it sunk, only to return on CV-16 and ride into Tokyo Bay as he promised. Today we are honored to have 14 former commanding officers of Lexington here to share in this historic ceremony, a living testimony to the superb leadership that has made Lexington the leader in naval aviation. I would like to recognize these fantastic commanding officers and leaders of our great Navy. Please hold your applause until after I complete their introductions. Vice Admiral Alex S. Hayward, Jr., Commanding Officer, August 1955 to October 1956. Captain Hart D. Hilton, Commanding Officer, July 1960 to July 1962. Captain Quinton C. Cremellin, Commanding Officer, June 1964 to June 1965. Captain Gordon C. Snyder, Commanding Officer, June 1965 to August 1966. Captain Edward W. Denman, Commanding Officer, August 1967 to January 1969. Captain Wayne E. Hammond, Commanding Officer, January 1969 to March 1970. Captain Cyrus F. Fitton, Commanding Officer, March 1970 to April 1971. Captain Thornwell F. Rush, Commanding Officer, July 1975 to May 1977. Captain Philip E. Johnson, Commanding Officer, November 1978 to June 1980. Captain James W. Ryan, Commanding Officer, December 1981 to June 1983. Rear Admiral Harold J. Burnson, Commanding Officer, June 1983 to December 1984. Captain Paul Farron, Commanding Officer, 1984 to November 1986. Captain Hayward G. Sprouse, Commanding Officer, 1986 to May 1988. Captain C. Flack Logan, Commanding Officer, May 1988 to December 1990. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting the outstanding commanding officers and the men and women who serve them. The history and legacy of Lexington does not stop with the Second World War or the Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1980, Lexington became the first and only aircraft carrier to have both men and women as part of her crew. Over the next 10 years, the Lexington team demonstrated tremendous capability of women and their valuable contributions to the Navy and naval aviation. And as Admiral Kelso indicated, again, call it fate or coincidence or whatever you desire, but I can't think of a better way to end an era of greatness and record-breaking arrest and landing than to have a female aviator, without prearrangement, make the final arrested landing. Back in 1943, it was Commander Ben Wright who made the first arrested landing. And on March 8, 1991, Lieutenant Kathy Owens made the last arrested landing, an OK-3 wire at number 493,248 landings. Kathy, will you please stand and be recognized? We come now to the final day in the life of this ship. It is the last day for the last crew. A day of deep personal emotions, a feeling of profound sadness, a feeling of tremendous pride. It is a day on which each member of this crew is honored to have the distinction to serve on this marvelous ship, to have a place in history, a deep-seated pride in ownership, and a determination to ensure that the Blue Ghost retires with honor, dignity, and grandeur. I could not begin to thank the hundreds of crew members that have contributed so much to make this day special. Just look behind me. You can sense the pride, you can see the love and loyalty that this crew has for Lexington. But I would be remiss if I did not mention one individual, my executive officer, Captain Rod Penfold. What a perfect call sign. He has been the rock of Lexington for over 2 years. His infectious personality, drive, and outgoing devotion to Lexington and the crew have been without equal. His unrelenting steady strain has ensured our successes. XO, you have done it all. You are truly special. You are the best. Thank you. Today is a day when we can all take pride in the past. It is a day when we can demonstrate and embody faith in the future. It is a time of remembrance. It is a time of recollection. Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg said, "We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain." We too must never forget those who have given full measure for the love of their country. They have truly sailed in harm's way and made the ultimate sacrifice for the defense of their country so that we may be free. The memories of those great men and women are forever ingrained in the history of Lexington and will not be forgotten. The Lexington, majestic behind me. Her boilers cold, her engine silent, the galleys empty, the catapults sealed, her arresting wires removed. Only the lights remain to be turned off. When I took command nearly 1 year ago, I spoke of the Field of Dreams, an all-star team, the great players of history, to be part, even just for one at bat. Little did I realize how meaningful that would be. Lexington is one of the greatest aircraft carriers in the history of our Navy. To have walked our passageways, to have stood on our bridge, to have felt her move gracefully through the water and feel the wind whip over her decks. I consider myself the luckiest man in the world. Lexington, you have earned a place in history, brave, noble, and proud, a lasting symbol of peace and freedom. Your memory shall not pass. May your legacy live on in our minds and hearts. May God bless Lexington, our great Navy, and the United States of America. Thank you.
Here's the other one.
Chief of Naval Operations for Air, Vice Admiral Dick Dunleavy, personal friend, a leader who has set the standard of naval aviation excellence for all of us to emulate. He is the backbone of Gary Aviation, and it's a sincere honor to report to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Admiral Dick Dunleavy.
I couldn't help noticing the condition of the Lexington, Lady Lex, the Blue Ghost. I was trying to keep track, putting them in line, but we kept both wondering how the guys in this crew did this fantastic job getting this ship ready. All the chiefs, enlisted, the officers, in my estimation, deserve a rounding applause for the work they've done up on the flight deck on the back. How about it? Pensacola is the cradle of naval aviation. The Lady Lex, for the last 29 years, has been a launching pad of naval aviators who launch from her decks and go to other decks around the world. They launch, they soar through the skies. As the poet says, they try to touch the face of God. Naval aviators, extraordinary people. But this group is even more extraordinary. They're tailhookers. They start right here from this deck, and they go to sea and fight and win, as they just saw in the Iraqi campaign. Young men and women who come and join this great group of fantastic, wonderful people who call American naval aviators. Tailhookers. And for all the folks who served aboard this great ship for many, many years, the enlisted, the chief petty officers, the officers, the current crew, the men and women today, the folks who sailed back in the South Pacific, the folks who sailed out of Pensacola Bay, I salute you for what you are. Extraordinary national treasures. People who met the challenge, accepted the role of being a sailor or a Marine, accepted the role of being a naval aviator, and I thank God we have you. Captain?
Executive officer, march off the crew, all down the pennants and colors, secure the watch.
Aye, aye, sir. Lexington, attack, here! Inboard, hey! March off!
Stop. No, sure.
Go Papa Lima 1, Papa 7. All quiet.
Where's the flag where they hold?
I don't know if it's going to be a stern. It should be the flag astern.
I can't see it.
Could be the Union Jack.
Similarly, when the pennant is finally lowered from the main and handed over to the commanding officer, the ship is officially retired. Will the guests please rise? Your attention is invited to the masthead for the lowering of the commissioning pennant. Officer of the deck, haul down the pennants, jack, and the ensign. Secure the watch. Will the guests please be seated? The officer of the deck will now present the ship's long glass and log to the commanding officer.
You guys look You guys look real stiffy down there.
Lieutenants up and Lord, the watch is secure. I'm ready to be released.
Yes, please rise for the benediction.
The hour is at hand when we must bid farewell to this grand nation. We have done our best today. Take the spirit of the Lady Luck's with us. Watch over us and bless us as we continue to serve our Navy and the nation. God bless us. God bless America, and God bless Lexington.
Guys are missing an up-close fantastic view up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lexington will now pay tribute to the men and women who have served on board and to pause for a moment to recognize those men and women who've made the ultimate sacrifice and given their lives in the defense of their country.
Up you.
Lexington, ready, two!
You gonna climb aboard that one?
Owsley, I guess it is. Owsley and Lieutenant Pat McElliott.
Coming to Pensacola in the narration for the remaining jumps of the Golden Knights. So Larry, take it away.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be back on the microphone. If you focus your attention to the rear of you, where you're sitting right now, you see the familiar underside of our C-130 aircraft, which is inbound for the first pass of today's performance. There is 5 Golden Knights down at the ground. It will use hand and arm signals and relay them to the jump master. The jump master will then tell the pilot to control the aircraft to either turn left or right, normally in 5 to 10 degrees. Now watch, as the C-130 slowly crosses overhead as they approach the exit point. Keep in mind, the C-130 is flying at 130 knots. The parachute falls at 120 miles per hour. So once he exits the aircraft, he's actually going faster than when he falls. Watch momentarily for jumpers to jump off the ramp of the C-130 aircraft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Golden Knights. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these parachutes. We have a traffic jam in the sky. It would be impossible for each Golden Knight to land on that target if he weren't to set up a spiral maneuver. He'll reach up to the right side of his harness and spiral the parachute out of the sky in order to gain vertical separation between each jumper. Ideally, each parachute was to land within 10 seconds of one another in the target area. At an altitude of 1,000 feet, the jumper does a wind penetration check. He compares the speed of the parachute in the air against the speed on the ground. Once he's determined his final approach, he will set up at 500 feet and maneuver his parachute into the target area by making minute hand corrections. To control the parachute has a set of steering lines. To turn left, he pulls down his left steering line. To turn right, he'll pull down his right steering line. And to stop the parachute, he'll pull down both steering lines for a nice soft stand-up landing. Keep in mind, the winds on the ground are very strong, and the parachute is matching the forward speed of the winds going against him. In a sense, the parachute comes straight out of the sky, straight down to the target area, much like an elevator effect. The first jumper lands for a dead center. Each jumper will lean out his approach and set up in front of the target and actually back his parachute into the target area because of the wind conditions on the ground. Watch as our fourth jumper maneuvers his parachute into the target area. He's eyeing the dead center and flares for a beautiful landing in the target area. And our last jumper pulls down on his right toggle, pulls down on his left, and maneuvers his parachute for a nice soft stand-up landing. IBM and more aircraft than any major airline. The United States Army gives you an unparalleled opportunity to be all you can be. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, focus your attention high overhead, and you'll see the familiar underside of the C-130 aircraft. As the C-130 slowly crosses over the target part of the team next to the aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 Golden Knights have just exited the aircraft. aircraft. Immediately upon exiting the aircraft, they're flying at 120 miles an hour. They'll reach in and pull out their pilot chutes to blast on that beautiful black and gold canopy. Members of your United States Army Parachute Team, the Golden Knights. Once again, these jumpers are faced with a unique situation, a traffic jam in the sky. In order to set up vertical separation, they will spiral their parachutes, so each jumper has his own landing in the target area. Ideally, each parachute wants to land 10 seconds behind one another. Ladies and gentlemen, the winds on the ground are picking up even stronger now, so the parachutes will set up as reverse wire into the target area. If you think it's hard landing facing the target, it's even harder backing up into the target area to land. The Golden Knights recently won the World Championship held in Czechoslovakia this year. We beat our major counterparts, the Russians and the French, in 8-way relative work competition. Oh, watch, as the next jumper maneuvers his parachute into the target area. He's eyeing it on the dead center. This jumper's Sergeant Darren Schuster, which was a member of the world record relative work team. It is very difficult to fly these parachutes in these kind of winds. Each jumper carefully eyeing the windsock on the ground, and judging its forward penetration into the target area. And our last jumper, the Alliance member of the parachute team, maneuvers his parachute into the target area. Head flares for our beautiful desert. Villanova University, and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1965. Captain William H. Kennedy received his commission 17 December 1965. He commenced flight training in January of 1966 and was designated Naval Aviator in July of 1967. On 18 December 1990, Captain Kennedy assumed command of USS Lexington, homeported here in Pensacola, Florida. Captain Kennedy, on behalf of the entire United States Army Parachute Team, we salute you.
Captain John Walker, Dutch Air Force, Freeport,
Look at how close to ground that is, Ira. Hey. Let's go look at that old key tube.
my table's my junk. I'd shake your hand, but I got it all curled up inside my glove.
Let's see, I gotta get away. Oh, I'm just getting your blood. Righty. Oh, the old biplane. Steer. Yeah. Is there a guy underneath it? Oh no, that's the wheels. Yeah. I lost it behind the tail.
is responsible.
In which the Blue Angels fly, as well as a variety of flight regimes in which the naval aviator must be skilled. As they approach, watch how our two solo pilots detach on signal from commando wards and set up for the first of their opposing maneuvers.
It's the latest thing. Real class.
Get some of those up at the ceiling.
The reason they did that was they needed more
Yeah, I know it. He was. No, he wasn't. He was a roughhouse. The girls are bored.
Look at here. See that yellow plane there? That's the center. Go straight out there.
Yeah. That's the one I missed up to now.
That's one like Don had. 34. Good Thunderbird.
Oh.
Hey, what year did the Durant come out in?
22.
22? One at the same time?
Yeah.
That was made in the 40s.
Yeah.
Early 40s.